going off of that, and just this whole idea that people aren't talking about these issues and these pre-existing systems, can you describe systems of oppression that people of color experience in America and what roles they have played in the events leading up to Ferguson?
So this question, system of oppressions that people of color have experienced in America, all of them, right? Like,
we want to begin.
Yeah.
Education system from K through 12, the employment system that looks at what name do you have versus what name somebody else has to not even give you an interview in the first place, and on and on and on. I mean, it's at every level. Institutional racism exists at every level in the United States in 2015, and there are people that are smart, that are good people, that are oblivious to it, and that's the problem.
I think we should explain some of these, because you say like the history naming, but I think that we should specifically give examples. Like in 2004, the university did this study where they sent out applications where the resumes were they were all the same, all the credentials, everything was the same. The only differences were the names, like John and Brittany versus Jamal and like Lakeisha. And so they found that the names that sounded more ethnic were 50% less likely to get callbacks.
There was that, and then there's been studies that show, that prove that a white person with a high school diploma with a record has a better chance of getting a job than a black person with a bachelor's degree in America. Better chance. With high school only, with a record, has a better chance of getting a job than a black person with no record with a bachelor's degree. That's institutional racism.
There's also statistics that show that white people and black people both use drugs at the same rate, yet black people get arrested at a higher rate for drug offenses, and that black people serve longer terms for offenses in the prison system.
Well, I think you both make great points. Another aspect of that I want to elaborate on is white privilege. I think a lot of white folks don't really understand how it works. They know it exists, they are aware of it, but they don't see how it affects their lives on a day-to-day basis. And I did some thinking, and my best example of white privilege I can show is our names. Most white folk in this country have names that accurately reflect their heritage. Me, for example, my name is Stephen Roberts. Stephen is Greek, Roberts is Irish. I don't know any Irish black folk. I'm pretty sure there are like 5 out there, but my family's not one of them. And when I begin to trace my family history back, the furthest I can go is a slave with a name. I can't say, oh, my great grandfather was on this ship. He lived in this place. I can't say that. There's a disconnect. There's a gap in my history. And we have to work harder to find accurate versions of our history than most white folk do. Like, most white folk can go to any store and open up a book and find great narratives about, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, all those guys that, the so-called great nation was built upon, and the people who created those ideas that helped build this nation. And the stories of black folk who helped create the country, and who's writing these stories. Are they black folk from the communities who these great people helped, or are they, kind of New York Police Department did a My NYPD hashtag, and they wanted to, show people, look, the NYPD is a great organization. We're out there in the community helping you guys, but the younger people, we reclaimed it. We used it to put it out there that, what the police department wasn't actually doing what they were saying they were doing. They were stopping, frisking people. They were jumping down on people. And I think that going forward, we can use these tools that we have now to kind of help tell our narrative and then help kind of sharpen up concepts. We're trying to explain it to people that want to help us but don't really know how.
I think the question that you asked, like, I don't think there's an easy way to like answer it, and I don't think we can get to the bottom of it today. But like, I think something that I specifically wanted to address was that I did feel like I faced like oppression in the classroom as like a RISD student at the school, and I'm sure that's something that a lot of people of color face. Like in class and in crit, because I can remember like numerous times when I was like I was making work that explored about like my identity and like family history. How like the critique was like responded in like purely like an aesthetic way, rather than like rather than in a way that like made me feel safe to be like exploring these stories and putting myself in the extremely like vulnerable position to like tell these stories. And I felt like there were like so many times that I got a lot of blank stares. I think a lot of that is because that because of like the white dominance in the population at RISD, and also like the way that white supremacy functions in the art world, like the institutions that like lead people into the art world like reflect that, and I think it just becomes like all the more important for like people of color to like come together and like work together and be able to like tell their stories in a way that feels like safe. So.
I feel like one explanation discussing like white privilege, because I feel like so often as soon as we hear that, some people think you're telling me I did not earn all of the things that I had in my life, but I feel like it's more specifically saying, I'm not saying you didn't earn what you have, I'm just saying you didn't have the struggles that I had based on my race and identity. You weren't held back, you didn't feel how Jess feels in this classroom because people don't understand your culture or your identity and your work. So I just want to give a clarification for that.
Right, there was an article that came out a couple of months ago. There's a big kind of international competition. It's called Young Guns by the New York Art Directors Club. And every year there's like a new Young Guns class of about 30 people. And this year, again, the class was about like 98% white men, like 1% women. And someone said something about it on Twitter. And it was like, oh, congratulations, another white middle class of graphic designers and artists being recognized for excellence. And where kind of like the people of color were in this, you know, like there are people of color in this room who are artists, designers, who are not being represented, they're not being known, they don't know about it. And it's like an accessibility issue, right? Like that's how oppression also works. It's like, and that's the thing about privilege too. It's like you just have more information about something that I would never have, or I would have a very difficult struggle to get to. And like those types of nuances, I think, perpetuate this idea of oppression, perpetuate this idea of like boundaries and race differences and et cetera, and go on.